Sean, how you feeling? You feeling ready?
No, I'm feeling good.
Me too, I'm always ready. You watching?
I'm watching.
Me too, I'm always watching. And that's what it's all about here in Las Vegas. Let's have a round of applause for Sean. Come on over, we'll begin 30 seconds early because they seem attentive and they seem ready. So take it away, Sean. I look forward to hearing your presentation.
Thank you, thank you. Just had a question from the gentleman about where he'd seen me before, and I had to remind him that it was a longtime Tamberg employee for 16 years, which most people know me from. My name is Sean Lessman. I am the responsible for the public sector and federal business at Synergy Sky, and I'm here to talk to you about our technology and what we do. As you can see by the title, Consistent User Experience for Cisco Devices Through Interoperability, what we're trying to say is you live in a world today with many platforms that you're being asked to join, and we're here to make it easy for you. So whether it's Webex, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Google, and we've added FaceTime this week, you can simply get the meeting invite, get a green button, and join the meeting. So what is it that we do? We are here to provide you a simple, consistent user experience. You may know how to get in all these different meetings, but your users don't. We want to make things easy for them. For all these different meetings, we want to make things as easy to join as Webex for other platforms. And we're doing that through a software platform that we designed that allows for the connections of all these different meetings using common standards. And the reason we're doing this is because the current options on the market today aren't quite hitting the mark when it comes to the user experience. So who is Synergy Sky? I told you a little bit about myself. The company, we are a Cisco Solutions Plus partner. This means that you can acquire the technology through Cisco's partners. Also means we're a Cisco verified interoperability platform, and we are also a newly minted Cisco collaboration workplace integration technology as well for Control Hub. So if you go into Control Hub today, you'll actually see us in there. Very, very easy to integrate the technology. What we do is we integrate into your existing workflow. If you want to book your meetings, you book it typically through a calendaring system. We're compatible and work with all the different versions of O365, including the government networks up to the DoD level, and with Google and Exchange on-premise. And the idea is to get the meeting invites, we read them, we understand how to connect you, and we make it happen, right? Second, we enable you to join your meetings 3 different ways, and this goes for all the platforms that we support. You can join by one button to push if you like to book the room, right? Walk in, push a familiar green button, and join the call. You can join by MeetingID for any of the platforms, including ones that you're invited to. It doesn't have to be your Zoom meeting. If you get invited to a Zoom meeting, you can join by MeetingID for those meetings as well. And you can also provide a manual dial SIP guest join for anybody to join as well. We support all Cisco systems that currently are on the market today. Go back quite some time as well, back to about Tamberg time when it comes to the devices. We also do the same for polys as well. What's important about that is if you have devices you're using today, we can probably help make it easier for you to join these different platforms. And the last thing we do is if you are directly compatible with the meeting platform, and a good example would be a Cisco device in Webex, we can do the one button to push for you and you'll join Webex directly. If for some reason you're not compatible, this is Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Google, FaceTime, we will provide the same easy green button, but we'll do some translation behind the scenes that's transparent to you, you won't notice it, and we'll get you connected into the call by making the call interoperable with those meeting platforms on the fly. And lastly, once you're in the meeting, we provide a number of in-meeting interactive features like raise your hand, lower your hand from the Cisco endpoint. You can change the layouts. You can see the chat. Somebody's having a chat in the Microsoft Teams room. You can see the actual history of the chat. You can see it on the screen. You can see the participants. You can even get closed captioning as well for anybody for accessibility reasons. Okay, and again, the reason we're doing this is because you live in a complex world today with many, many meetings you're being asked to join, and it's too hard for the average user. There are some solutions on the market, and every platform has its own caveats, right? So I'm going to pick on Microsoft Teams for a little bit today. Zoom has similar challenges, Google and so on, but there are different options today for joining Microsoft Teams. On the far left, we have something called Direct Guest Join. This is something that's in the endpoint natively for Cisco. There's a browser inside that allows you to join Microsoft Teams. It does have some limitations. The big notable one most people have found pretty quickly is you're able to receive content from Microsoft Teams meetings to the endpoint, but you cannot send any content back into the meeting. That's usually the big one people figure out pretty quick. Both Direct Guest Join and CVI are both Microsoft technologies. So some of the frustrations you may be feeling with these technologies, not Cisco's fault. These are things that are limited by Microsoft. They're the ones that, you have to license that technology. When it comes to CVI, this is a technology that's usually meant for you to ask people to join your meetings, right? So you have teams today, you want people to join your team's meeting, you deploy CVI, and you send out your invites. Challenge with CVI, the big one people tend to find here as well, is it does not support the dominant way of sharing content in Microsoft Teams, and these are application-based sharing techniques, right? So PowerPoint Live, whiteboards, ways of sharing content that the Teams user likes to do. We in the VTC world like to share content by screen sharing, right? Put an HDMI cable in, whatever's on the screen I can share. Those are the two ways of doing things. CVI doesn't support the way Teams likes to do it. They don't support the application-based sharing. They do support screen sharing. We will support both. So you don't have to think about how your content's being shared. You just share it and it'll work. CVI is also limited in who you can call. So for the most part today, it's all about inviting people to your meetings. There are some use cases where you can now enable CVI to talk to other agencies or companies that don't have CVI, but it doesn't work for the government. So the government networks doesn't work for them. It does work in some cases in the commercial side. So there's still enough confusion for people to understand what's going on. MTRs are great solutions if you're an all Microsoft solution. This is where you take the Microsoft software clients, you put it on the native hardware device from Cisco, and you get a great experience from Microsoft, very, very deep experience, but also has some equally challenges when it comes to joining other meeting platforms. You can't join Google, for example, right? Zoom, it's going to use direct guest join. You're going to have the one-way content issue as well. There's also some differences with Android versus Windows, and et cetera. It's just, there's some confusion around that as well. So in our world, we try to take away a lot of that confusion because our focus is to make it easy for people to join all their meetings and get a consistent experience. So we're going to support all the different clouds from Microsoft. We don't care who sends the invite. You're going to connect every time. It could be you. It could be another agency. It could be any level of government cloud, commercial cloud. You can share your content all the possible ways. You don't have to think ahead about who's in the call. And you get your interactive features like raising your hands and that sort of thing. All right, let's get into the fun part now. So when we decided we wanted to solve this problem, we wanted to solve the interoperability issue, we wanted to do it across multiple platforms, not just Microsoft, we set ourselves some goals to achieve. Number one, we wanted to integrate into existing workflows and not require you to deploy any plugins from us, right? So there's no plugins from Synergy Sky, but if you'd like to use plugins from Microsoft or Zoom or Google or what have you, you can do that, and it generates the invite, we read the invite, we make the call happen. We also want to make sure that you're scheduling and joining your meetings the same way. It should be the same regardless of the meeting platform, right? We want to make sure that you can join 90% of your meetings, at least. We'd like to get to 100, but we want to get the bulk of the kind of platforms you're trying to get to, right? You should be able to call any meeting. It shouldn't matter who sends the invite. You should be able to join any meeting you want to join. You should be able to share your content any way you want to share it. And lastly, you should be able to interact with the meeting, right? Some of us think emojis are silly, some of us don't, right? But it should be supported. At the end, our goal is to provide that single consistent user experience, irregardless of the meeting. Okay, so it begins with the user experience. You want to make sure it's one experience. Today, that's the Cisco touch panel, right? Looks very standardized. We have some macros we can add in to give you these interactive features. And you get that full experience today with the Cisco touch panel. We have also announced this week, we have a DTMF-based API that you can now deploy all these features in a third-party touch panel as well. So if you have Crestron's, AMX, any third party, you can actually write software now to fully control the experience from a third party. Next on the list, we want to solve 3 use cases. One is, if my endpoint is compatible with the meeting platform, I can provide the Easy Join button and you join just directly to that meeting platform. We don't get involved in the meeting at all. The second use case is I have an endpoint that's not compatible with the meeting platform, but there is a gateway involved, right? They do have a CVI, they do have a CRC, right? We can use that. We understand it's there and we can make use of it. In some cases, there might be a feature of CVI you like and you want to use it for a specific endpoint, and that's fine. You can configure our software down to the endpoint, which experience you would prefer. You want CVI for this endpoint, you want Connect for that endpoint, it can be done, right? And third, the meeting is not compatible and there's no gateway in the call path. And this is a unique thing we do today. This is you're being invited by another company to Microsoft Teams, but they have not deployed CVI, right? Your call today would fail, but we can make you get into those calls as well. All right, so a bunch of other questions people tend to ask, can I do my raise my hand? How do I have to dial? Can I show this kind of content? All these questions also go away as we solve many of these questions as well. Something else new that we've announced this week is support for Microsoft Teams closed captioning. This means you can turn on the closed captioning for accessibility reasons and see them right on the SIP endpoint. Jump forward here. And how does it work? So why is this different than CVI? CVI is it's an API, an SDK that you license from Microsoft. It has a certain feature set available to it, and you develop your product based on that feature set. We've chosen to use the Microsoft web app approach. This means that the native web app from Microsoft, that if you were Salesforce and you wanted to build a portal around Teams, you would use this approach to do the same thing. So we use this native web app, and the way it works is, if you had a browser today on your laptop and you wanted to join any of these meeting platforms, you would join on your browser through something called WebRTC. It's a built-in function of every modern web browser because why? We got tired of loading plugins years ago. Nobody wanted to load plugins anymore, right? They built it natively into the endpoint, and you would plug in your camera and you would plug in your microphone, and that's how you would join a meeting today, right? Something fully supported, fully developed by all of these brands. Everybody's happy with that approach, right? So what we did was we said, well, what happens if we took the current install base of SIP devices and we terminated that SIP call, we decode the video and audio, and we inject it into the WebRTC component of this browser. So our product actually has a Chromium framework that looks like a browser on one side and looks like a SIP endpoint on the other, and we do the translation in between. This means we have the full set of features available to anybody that would normally join any of these platforms through a browser, right? This is why we're able to do things differently than the CVI. We can also provide the one button to push and other functionalities for Webex. Even though we don't have to translate that call, we can provide the same experience, right? So the user doesn't have to know any of this. They just join their calls. Okay, we also have extended it beyond one button to push. You can now join by MeetingID if you like the approach of walking into a room and just typing in a number and joining the call. And you can also provide a SIP URI manual dial for Jabber, for example, or for somebody that you wanted to invite as a guest into your meeting. You can dial it manually, and any SIP device can join these platforms. And the best part about it is you now get interoperability for Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Google, and FaceTime licensed at one place, and it doesn't matter what the other side is deployed, you'll get into your calls. This is what the experience looks like. Across the top, you'll see the gallery view, people raising their hands, people celebrating, PowerPoint in the middle, and down the side, you'll get the full room chat. Right, and these are panels that can be turned off. Right? By default, they're off. You turn them on if you want to see them on the touch panel. And down at the bottom, you're getting the closed captioning. Okay, so if we talk about the scorecard earlier, what we were trying to achieve, what Synergy to Sky was trying to achieve as a company, integrating to existing workflows when we compare the CVI approach versus the web app approach, we're both capable of doing that. But on the joining different platforms, CVI really is a Microsoft-focused technology, so it's not going to help you with Zoom and Google and the other platforms. So we're able to achieve that. You can't do that with CVI today. If you want to join all those platforms, they don't have gateways associated with them. That's something that CVI doesn't really do today. It does it in some very specific use cases, but not across the board. We do across the board. Doesn't matter who sends the invite. Anybody can invite you to a meeting, and you can join their meeting. Okay? Share content, all the possible methods, whether that be application-based sharing, whether it be screen sharing, no problem, all covered. And the last one here being, meeting actions like raising hands. You cannot do that with CVI. You can change the layouts. You can see the roster list, but the other functionalities you don't get. And lastly, see the full, conversation. People that like to use the emojis, the chats. You want to see the closed captions. You want more people to be part of the conversation. You'll get that full experience with Synergy Sky. All the great features of the Cisco endpoint, the frames, the speaker tracking, everything you like, the way you share your content wirelessly, all these things will work with the platform as well. So you actually get to make use of all the great features of the Cisco endpoint. And lastly, people always want to know how things are licensed. We do this by number of endpoints. Everything we talked about is all licensed by one license. You don't have to pick and choose and that sort of thing. You just number of endpoints. It's a flat fee. It's an annual subscription. There's no chargebacks. There's no concurrent call licensing. One flat fee per device. Use as much as you like. We support all SIP-based meeting platforms, Microsoft Teams, all the different flavors, Zoom, Google, and now FaceTime. License all your interoperability needs in one place. No need to go buy multiple gateways from different sources. It's a simple, consistent user experience, and this is generally what gets people the most excited about talking about the technology, is it just makes things easy for the users on a day-to-day basis. And get more value out of your SIP devices. If you happen to have old stuff, you don't have a budget yet to upgrade, we can help you until you get the budget to upgrade. If you got brand new stuff, they have the same challenges as well. So if you're gonna buy the latest EX from Cisco, don't limit it, get a full experience, right? You can throw us in the middle of that, get a better experience as well. And if you're in transition, it's a great way to get a unified experience across all the devices while you're making that transition. And lastly, we achieved our goal in enabling you to be able to participate in the full conversation. It's not just about video and audio, there's chat conversations going on, you got the accessibility, you've got all the other things that are going on in the conference call. And that's it, thank you for your time.
Sean Lessman, there he is. And thank you very much. If you have more questions about Synergy Sky, remember, just want to be clear on this point because you can't really see it from here. They're on the aisle. That aisle, I mean, they're still within this collaboration village, but they're just on the aisle, okay? So if you have more questions, that's where you'll find Synergy Sky. Nice work. We'll see you back here shortly. Thanks for visiting us here at Collaboration Village. It's nice work.
Thank you.
Yeah.